is there a gender divide as far as the involvement, the taking up your child's cause? Marguerite?
There is. We see on a national and global level at the Autism Society a gender divide, but the gap is beginning to close. So mostly it's the ferocious moms, and we're glad they're there. But now we're seeing just some incredible participation by fathers. Nationally, however, we're seeing that increase in the white and African American communities. We haven't seen it increase as much in the Hispanic American, and so we're dedicated to doing more outreach to men and working with culturally competent experts on that, because it is a tough, isolating condition to have to live through. The divorce rate is high, and frankly, dads have told me that it is hard to see their son, and there's more boys than girls, not perform to the expectations that America sets on him or another culture sets. And so dads really need support, and they can be phenomenal advocates.
And are Latin men less able to admit that their child has a problem?
I couldn't, I wouldn't say that as a blanket statement, but okay. I think that I do.
No, I know we're scientists. We don't want to make blanket statements, but is it tougher to concede generally for men that their child has a problem that maybe they don't even understand fully?
I would say that they don't understand it fully. I think that the mothers are much more involved, and they come and they ask questions and they want to know. I find that if I support the parents, and I'm bilingual, so I'm able to communicate in Spanish, if I support them through the process, and if I invite then the father in, then it's much easier. The father still is seen as the authority in the home, and sometimes the mothers want one thing and the fathers say, no, I don't want my child labeled. And so then it doesn't happen. The other issue, though, that I need to mention is that we don't have enough bilingual, bicultural psychologists or professionals, speech and language therapists, or occupational therapists, to really meet the need. And that could be why they're not being identified, because the American Psychological Association only has about 2% of the whole membership is Hispanic.
2%?
2%.
How are we doing with the pipeline? Are there more students in university being prepared?
Okay. They have done a tremendous job in increasing the number of Hispanic and African American students, but that will not really be enough, because in a few years the Hispanic minority will be maybe a majority. So, I think it's crucial that we have people who can speak the language, not just Spanish, it could be other languages. We have an influx of Ethiopians here now, and so we don't have people who speak Amharic. So, it's interesting. Also, it would be great to see what research has been done in Latin America and what are the different treatment methods they're using, and compare that and see if there's really the same incidence or prevalence of the disease in Latin America and Puerto Rico.
Do we know? I mean, if we go to Buenos Aires, are we going to see a 1,300% increase in the number of kids
That's a good question.
Approaching kindergarten?
And I can answer that. The studies like we've done in America are just now starting overseas, and there's 30 countries that are doing these kinds of epidemiological studies. But what we hear from advocacy organizations is that it's the same incidence rate. Most countries do not report autism. The UK does, the US does. In Latin America, the parents are now asking their governments to consider working with our CDC and doing these kinds of studies, because when we go to international conferences, they're talking the same issues, the same rates.
Mary Holland, at this moment, are you more likely to get a high degree of parental advocacy from families with more educated, better paid parents?
I think that's probably a fair generalization. It's a generalization, but I think that families who have more resources across the board, emotional resources, financial resources, educational resources, it's easier for them in some sense to become strong advocates. But I would say in general, it is an extraordinary community of parental advocates. It is parents who are driving the agenda for research, for treatment, for special education. I think I'm very proud of the parental advocacy community in autism.
How do we push down
Well,
the advocacy so that other people in other communities feel that they have just as much a right to be in the principal's face as more entitled parents?
I personally am involved in training lawyers around issues and working on advocacy. So I'm working with a group called Autism One, and we are specifically doing advocacy trainings, giving parents PowerPoints, giving parents talking points, giving parents question and answers, so that they really can become more effective advocates. There are a lot of books out there on how to be an advocate for your kid with autism. I think there are tools out there, but we have to do more work around the country.